Hello friends, and welcome of you with this new course. I apologize for being idle for over a year. Now we are back with this course which relates Flutter application to a PostgreSQL database, and we will see about some things about the security that we can apply on the any Flutter application. This course is mainly about the backend and the security of the app data. We will talk briefly about the Flutter UI design, so take notice that this course is basically about the backend. It's not about the design of. So whatever design we will do in this application, it will be just the minimal design just to prove the case. Part 1, which we will talk about later, it will consist of the installation of an encrypted PostgreSQL database server. I will not go through it, because if you wish to know how to install a fully encrypted PostgreSQL database server, you could go to my course at this link, and there will 3 videos which can tell you how you can install a fully encrypted PostgreSQL database server. So I will skip this part. I will go directly to the part number 2. In part number 2, we will do it mainly in 2 ways. In the first way, through the conventional way, which is creating model classes. So the app, and we will create model classes, and then we will apply the Postgres API for the database within the application, which will connect us to the database. This is the first few videos. We will talk about this, and then later on we will see how can we implement a DIO API when we want to do the same thing about this. In this case, we will implement the DIO API, whether it's post or get, and then we will use the same Postgres API, which will connect us to the DB. Now, I will create a simple Flutter application which consists of a login form, a register form, the account, register format, register account, and then we will see how can we update the data of the user details. And also we will persist different types. We will persist in the database string, double, integers, images as well, in both ways. So in both ways we will persist different types of data, in the first way and in the second way. Now, to give you a general idea about the project preferences, which I will use, and you will see it right now. So firstly, I'm using an IntelliJ IDE, and we will use an SDK minimum version of 24. The target SDK will be 30. The Flutter version is 1.226, and the Dart version is 2.105, and the Gradle 6.82, and the JDK 11. The database connection for the API, for the application that we will use the implementation, we could get it from here. You just press Postgres at the pub.dev. This is the one that we will use to create a database, a PostgreSQL database, to our Flutter application. Okay, having said these things, let's see about how we can create the Flutter framework or the Flutter platform. First of all, we create the project, and I will leave this to you, but I will talk about the details, the preferences of the project. I created this project by the name of Flutter PostgreSQL. The first thing you need to go, once you have created this project, you go to the project structure. Now you will create, I choose the API, the SDK API 30 and the JDK 11. As per the SDK, we will need the Android API 30 with the JDK Java SDK 11. For the libraries, we will take Dart packages, Dart SDK, and Flutter Plugins. This you need to add when you do the installation. the Flutter plugins. By default, this will come directly, assuming that you already have a Dart SDK in your laptop, in your machine. But this, what you will need to add is the Flutter plugins. Now the facets, these are standard ones. Here, what you need to, by default, when you create a project, the location of the manifest file is different, and if you keep it as it is, as a default one, you will get an exception, or you get an error telling you that there is no manifest file. So you need to look for the manifest file. In my case, the manifest file relies on Flutter, PostgreSQL, Android, app, src, debug here. This is the location of the Android manifest. So you need to look for it, and you need to assign it to this location of the manifest file, because by default the location is not here, and when you run the application you will get an error telling you that there is no Android manifest.xml file. So you have to give attention to this thing. Okay, these are the basic ones. Now let's go for the other things that we need to look at. For the Gradle, we will go to Android, and we will select the Gradle build. Here, when you create the project, the Gradle build is the default one, which usually comes like 3.5.2. So you need to upgrade to the latest Gradle build. Okay, this is number one. Number two is Gradle wrapper properties. By default, it's I believe 5 point something. Now the latest version of the Gradle, which you can also Google it, as of now it is 6.82. By the time you watch this video, it's more upgraded, so you need to change it to the latest version, because if you don't, if you keep it as it is, the default one, you will get some errors also. So before you start anything with the project, do these things so you can avoid these structural errors. The other thing is that you need to go to the app, the build Gradle. I have selected the minimum SDK to be 24 and the target SDK version 30. The minimum, I selected it for 24 for reasons that I will mention later. But in general, if you select the latest Gradle build, usually this latest requires an SDK, minimum SDK of 24. Usually this is the case, and it could give you some errors. So that's why I put the minimum SDK version as 24. And the target, as of now, as I'm speaking now, the target SDK version is 30. Now let's talk about the other thing, which is the manifest file. The Android manifest file. Now, as you can see, by default, when you create this project, you will get only one line, which is a permission to create or to connect to the internet. This is the permission. We will talk later. We will add more permissions, more features to the manifest file, and also the application attribute. We will add it, and we will see what everything can do. But for now, when you create the application, this is what you get for the manifest file. Just this one line, the permission to connect to the internet. Okay. Now, having said this, let's close this Android for now, and we will see for our application, the structure of our application. This is our main file. Now we will create 3 packages: the database package, the model package, and the widgets package. The widgets is what we will, is the UI, as I've said, And again, I will create a very simple UI because this is not the scope of this course. The scope of this course is the database, is mainly the database and the security that we will talk also later. We will create a directory by the name of resource that we will place in it any images that we want or whatever asset that we want, we will place at this directory. This directory doesn't come by default. You have to create it. Okay, now let's go to another important thing. These all are the setups of your environment, your development environment, and you should do it before anything you do with the, because some of these things, if you don't do it now, you will get errors, multiple errors, which maybe let you consume time to find out what's going on, what's wrong. So set up these preferences from now and then start creating your project. The other thing and the last thing is the pop spec file. The pop spec file will consist of all the dependencies that you need in your Flutter application. By default, when you create the project, you will see this dependency only like this, the SDK Flutter, that's it. Afterward, you start to create or add the dependencies that you need for your Flutter project. In my case, I choose these dependencies. Now, these dependencies, you can get them with the version of them. You can get them again, as we have said, from here. So whatever dependency you will see in the project, it is coming from here. Any dependency here you see, just go to the pub.deb and you will see that it's there. You can take a better look about some features that I didn't use. Maybe that dependency had some other features which I don't need to use at the moment. But in your case, you need to go there and see what are all the features that this dependency can do. I will add these dependencies which I need in this course. The splash screen, when you add these dependencies, make sure that the indentation between these lines should be correct, because otherwise you will get an error and you cannot do the pub.get. So the splash screen, the Postgres, and the path, and the image picker, and the password we will use to hash the password. When a user login or create an account, he need to set up a password, and when this password moves from the application to the database, it needs to be hashed. So I'm using this API to hash the password. The DIO, this we will not talk about now because we will do only the models for now. The DIO is the second part. So these are the basic ones that we will need. Now for the dependencies we will leave as it is for now. One thing to add more. Now by default this is commented. It is like this one. What you need to do is to uncomment the asset and add the resource name. The resource name, as we have said, is the directory that we have created to put all our resources, such as images, files, XML file, whatever resources you need to put, you can put here. So you create this directory and you add the directory, and don't forget to add the backward slash, and the indentation also you keep it. Make sure that the indentations are correct, otherwise again you will not be able to update the pub.get. I believe these are the basic structure of the application, which you have to do prior to anything doing when you want to create a new Flutter application. Okay, this is in video 1. From video number 2 we will talk about the database, the tables that we will require to connect our app to the database. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.